lovely Sagittarians. This is your reading. We're in between times. We're in between that big full moon in Scorpio and the new moon coming up in about 6 days in Taurus, that Taurus new moon coming up. Oh, then we get the moon popping out, Sagittarius, so we'll leave that here. And do check out any other titles that stand out for you that you are attracted to. And do take what resonates, just leave what doesn't. Check out if you know what your ascendant and moon are in. And what else? That's about it. Thanks for your likes and shares, subscribes, comments, because it helps these videos to be seen by more people, which is what I'm trying to do. So thank you, I appreciate it. So let's get into it. We go through clarify. If you haven't joined me before, we clarify. We've got a rock, mineral and crystal card for you, which I'm going to pull right now, face down, Sagittarius. So we will pull that out at the end and see if it pertains to anything here. And just one more card, please. One more card for Sagittarius. Wants something to jump here. Yep. Okay. Wow, it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good. What we can see coming out with the moon, you know, maybe you're on a bit of a roll, Sagittarians. We've got, one would like to think, an illumination over the last over the last week or two, and a few things have dropped, pennies as it were, and maybe some new realizations, a new view of yourself and where you are at emotionally, mentally, all of that kind of thing. That's nice, actually. Time out, a bit of time that you've got, a bit of more time, if that makes sense. We've got the Four of Swords here, taking some time out, maybe actually putting some things to rest, finally. Sometimes it takes a long time, actually. But this is called truce. It's I liken it to entering a nice sun-filled sort of quiet chamber where you can just relax and rest. There's nothing coming at you from the external, world. And it's where we really do get some wonderful ideas or insights. Our thoughts can be very helpful in this quiet resting space. Maybe you felt like you've needed more rest lately. We then have the wonderful six of discs, a card in the Thoth deck called Success. It really is. There's a large level of generosity in this card. It's as if it's, in a real nice sort of balance, in a kind of human way, but in a natural law, the natural law. What do they call it? The law of attraction. Though I'm not talking about that so much. We're talking about coin, and we're talking about generosity, and walking that line of, it's more like a flow where we know what we give comes back to us in lots of different ways, actually, in good ways. So that's nice. Let's go through. Sagittarius will clarify with the Morgan Greer. Clarify for Sagittarius. We're looking at the moon. We're looking at rest. We're looking at a very generous Six of Discs at the end here. We understand that whole thing, though, of looking after ourselves first and foremost, don't we, Sagittarius? We're looking at the moon. We get the Four of Wands, traditionally a card of where we feel at home, the place where we are at home, a homecoming, a welcoming, a nesting. All of those wonderful things exist in the Four of Wands. It's a stable fire, you know. It's stable fire here. What's this? When we work for it. Eight of Discs, perfecting something. Whether that's something in ourselves, to do with ourselves, or perfecting a space where we really are the master of ceremonies, the master of our destiny, and it is our place to be. Interesting. Working hard at that. Four of Swords for Sagittarius. That Eight of Discs is an interesting one. We repeat something over and over again. It's not necessarily repeating, but we perfect something. We're perfecting something there. What was I saying? Four of Swords. We're looking at truce. We're looking at an offering for another four. We've got quite a lot of stability going on in our life at the moment. Look, sometimes we don't see an offering as that. We just think, oh God, it's just another thing to add to what I've already got. You know, this sort of lackluster non-recognition of something that is potentially a really good opportunity. Sometimes we can get a bit complacent, obviously, because we've got 3 cups. You know, what's 3 of cups? It's like, you know, celebrating family. It's enjoyable occasions with friends and family and all of that. Do we really need a 4th cup? But the thing is, it's either an opportunity that doesn't appear to be. What are you deciding to add to your world? This is, I suppose, what I would be asking. Is there something you want to, there's an additional something you want to take and make use of? Or is there a level of complacency about doing that? Interesting, Sagittarius. Now we're looking at the 6 of Discs. 6 of Discs. Generosity. Most definitely. We have a level, I mean, honestly, a level of discernment about that generosity. There has to be some boundary line, doesn't there? We've got the King, or is it the Knight? It's the Knight. We've got the Knight of Swords sweeping through, having a bit of a spring clean, winter clean. How generous are we? Are we walking, shimmying along the flowing line of generosity? Are we been a bit challenged there, I think? But when I say, you know, that flow, because it is like natural law, isn't it? It just does its thing. Once it's in that balance, it's doing its thing. Maybe there's a few things that need to be cleaned out, a few little tweaks and boundary lines drawn. I only say that really because we've got Judgment coming out. Judgment. Well, when all the birds come home to roost, what do they say? You know, when the skeletons rise from their graves. Some representations of judgment, I think, you know, everything has to come back to some level of balance. I see Judgment as that. Maybe a kind of film clip. Maybe something that comes to you in this quiet time of truce, of respite. But we can gain a lot with Judgment. We can get ourselves either back on track or on a new track that suits where we are at Sagittarius right now. So that's what I'm getting from this reading. You know, it's interesting, like that 8 of Discs, working, perfecting something. Work can be a wonderful distraction, because it is, because you don't often have a lot of room if you're working over 40 hours a week, whatever. You don't have a lot of time left if you're doing other things. It can be a great distraction. It's always a difficult one, isn't it? So we've got Brian Froud, Pixie and Fairies. Thank you for a bit of glimmer. A glimmer. We've got the Green Woman. This is really talking about boundaries. But it's talking about having quite clear boundaries, but in fact, it doesn't mean that you halt growth or that you stunt it, if that makes sense. You know, the power of the plant can sort of shoot up anywhere through anything. But this is a very powerful sort of, how would you put it, green woman, you know, that the paradox of firm boundaries is that you have wonderful growth and strength to take on what you need to do what you need to do in this life, in this world. It's a really strong, lovely, lovely card. And the power of new growth. The power of it. It can crack things open in order to surge forth. You know, it's kind of interesting. Now, interesting, Sagittarius, we've got these cards, rock, mineral, crystals, include water and fire and all of those 4 elements, or 5 elements, whatever way you want to look at it. And we have for you today water, which is interesting, emotional, intuition, psychic powers and healing for you. Maybe you're getting into the water again. Ideally drinking a fair amount of water, that is. On that note, Sagittarius, thanks for joining me. As I said, check out any other readings that titles might stand out for you, and take good care over this week into the new moon that will be in Taurus. On that note, ka kite. Bye, Sagittarius. Bye.